Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric series on the MiSTer FPGA DE10 Nano project, more specifically in this instance, the work-in-progress Sega Saturn core, because we've seen some awesome updates come to the core recently. We're going to be going over all of them today. Things like turbo CPU mode, saving, and games that used to be a lot harder to run are now a lot easier to run. Before getting far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But right off the top now, on the cores, 9 out of every 10 people are getting success running Alien vs Predator. It's really not quite sure why this is happening down to the build as far as the actual compile is concerned, but every once in a while someone will have a MiSTer that just doesn't want to play this game. Now that is really nothing to worry about right now because it is still in development, so I'm sure that will get fixed up down the line. It used to be that I had one core that won an AVP and everything else would fail, and now it seems like on all these most recent test cores, Alien vs Predator boots up and starts playing on every single different core in MiSTer I have, which is absolutely incredible because I would say this is definitely the #1 reason to own an Atari Jaguar console. It is an absolutely outstanding game with a ton of atmosphere and really does show what the Atari Jaguar could do when it was in competent developers' hands. And these actual lights on the ceiling here with that pseudo glow next to them just has a very particular graphical art style that I think really does show that the Jaguar had what it took to make good 3D games, or pseudo 3D games in this instance, and really do compete with Saturn and PlayStation 1, at least in a few genres. Now, I am not a Jaguar apologist. It definitely was a failed console, but it was a fun console, and games like Alien vs Predator really are the reason to experience it. And honestly, right now, with the price of Atari Jaguar games and hardware on eBay and the secondary market being sky high, MiSTer FPGA is definitely the #1 way to play, outside of Big PMU from Rich Whitehouse on Windows and iOS as well. But the nice thing is Jaguar is seeing a total resurgence compared to where it was maybe 5-10 years ago, both on the FPGA front as well as the software emulation front, so it's never been a better time to play Atari Jaguar. And as far as the FPGA core is concerned, everything here feels like it's running exactly like an Atari Jaguar should, down to the slower frame rate. Now I will talk about the turbo mode in just a moment, but I'm going to use Rayman as the actual example of that because it's more fundamentally different compared to each version. But as far as Alien vs Predator is concerned, it sounds, plays, looks, and feels exactly like it should on real Atari Jaguar hardware, and I have played this game from start to finish more than once, and I can say what you're seeing here on the Atari Jaguar core feels like it's adhering to a real Atari Jaguar console. If you've never played Alien vs Predator before, definitely start playing it on MiSTer FPGA today, because now that you have game saving in, you don't have to do it in one sit down. You can come back to the game and load up your save wherever you want. But there is a particular way to save games, and I'll show you that in Rayman as well. And speaking of Rayman, here he comes. We're going to be talking about the new turbo mode as well as the saving of the actual backup RAM on the cartridges. Now do remember, not every single Jaguar game actually uses save states as far as backup RAM is concerned. A lot of the games do use code, so that's not really going to be important to those games, but for the games that save like Alien vs Predator and Rayman, I'm going to show you how to make sure you save them, because honestly I see like a lot of people actually making the mistake of just quitting the core and not saving that backup RAM, and then they come back and their games are completely gone. But pay attention to this section right here as we jump down, and there's a lot of sprites on screen at once. You're going to see the core is going to slow down, as is the game. The good news is now there is a turbo CPU mode in the core as well. You just need to enable it, and by default it is going to be disabled. You have to make the choice to turn it on. The good thing is it doesn't affect the audio in any way, shape, or form, and that will be your sound sample in just a moment. But if you go into the menu in the core, you'll see CPU speed. You have both normal as well as turbo. You want to pop that onto turbo, so go ahead and watch the same segment that you just saw slowed down, except now on the turbo CPU speed, and go ahead and listen to the audio. It sounds exactly like Rayman should, and that's always a question people ask. If you're turboing the CPU, is the sound going to change? Is it going to pitch up? And in this instance and across the Jaguar core, I heard no difference in audio between normal CPU mode and turbo CPU mode. But go ahead and listen for 45 seconds, hear it for yourself, and I'll be right back with more. Sounds exactly like Rayman should, and you'll see there in that sequence that previously slowed down with the turbo enabled, you have a completely slowed down free gameplay experience. This feels exactly like Rayman on Atari Jaguar should, although honestly it's probably been about 15 years since I played this from start to finish on the Atari Jaguar. Now if you do need to save your game, if the game allows you to save inside of it, make sure you do, and then in the menu you're going to have a load and save backup RAM option. You want to open up the menu and go ahead and click save right here, that way everything is saved secondarily. If you restart the core, if you just hit reset, it'll still persist, but if you load the core up again, you can load your backup RAM as well. But you'll see here in real time, I'll go ahead and reset the system and bring Rayman back online as far as the cart loading into the actual Jaguar core. And we'll go right up to the menu and I will show you that the saves persist. Just remember that you need to save the backup RAM before you quit the core or reset anything. I see people doing this so often, they forget to hit save, they quit the core, turn off their MiSTer, come back later and lose 3 to 4 hours of progress because they forgot to save. So make sure you go in and you do that. Make it kind of that habit before you switch cores or turn MiSTer off for Jaguar. Save that backup RAM, because you'll see here as we get into the menu and go into the file selection screen, we now have that same file I just created on the new core. It is ready to load up and it's ready to jump back into the game. So save in the game, save the backup RAM before you quit the core, and then go ahead and load the backup RAM and you will have save game support on Atari Jaguar, and that's going to be huge because some of these games take a long time. Now moving over to a game that never used to work before, and I would say for 50% of people still doesn't work, is going to be Fight for Life. And while I do know this game isn't a quote-unquote good game, I at least appreciate it for what it really tried to do on the Atari Jaguar. It tried to compete with stuff like Virtual Fighter, making a fully 3D fighting game on Jaguar with texture map polygons and making it fun. It is not a perfect game, it is not even a good game, it is technically a bad game, but I do like to reward ambition. So if you're here to make a comment saying Fight for Life is garbage, don't bother playing it, you can go ahead and make that. It is kind of true, but honestly I still appreciate what they tried to do. Now even seeing polygons in this game right now on the current core is very hit or miss. I had no issues on any of my MiSTers, but other people have had issues, and it's just gonna have to wait for updates. I can get into the game, I can get matches in, and I can play Fight for Life exactly like you would on a real Jaguar, which is to say it is clunky, it is slow, but it does show what the Jaguar could do, at least visually. We do have characters with polygons on screen, they are texture map, we do have a nice skybox and a quasi-infinite plane on the ground and skybox as well, just kind of giving you a sense of pseudo 3D as far as the 2D elements are concerned. And like I said, Fight for Life is not a good game, but it's an ambitious game, and you can tell the developers tried to keep up with Sega and Virtual Fighter with very inferior hardware compared to Sega Saturn, and of course the arcade Model 2 original. So the fact that they even have this running on Jaguar in and of itself is relatively impressive to me, and now if you do get lucky you can run it on the MiSTer FPGA core. And while the soundtrack is nothing to write home about, it's going to be your second sound sample of the video, 30 seconds of Fight for Life, and I'll be right back. I mean, that sounds like Fight for Life should, which is to say a B-tier audio effort on a C-tier game, but still has a lot of ambition and a lot of charm if you can kind of look around the overall jankiness of it. But really this is going to be the next game to test when new cores come out, because it seems like the actual percentage of people that are able to play this game is probably hovering around that coin flip territory. So if you do test the Atari Jaguar core, definitely give Fight for Life a go and leave me a comment down below and let me know how it goes for you. And again, this is the dual RAM core, it's the only one that we currently have on MiSTer. I know another developer is working on a single RAM core, but I don't have that available to test. We're talking about the mainline core right now over on MiSTer Discord. And if you do want that core, you need to pop over to the Discord server itself and go into the test builds channel. You can find the most recent one there, or you can just pop into Atari Jaguar chat and ask what the most recent core is. But this has been a fundamentally huge set of updates for the Jaguar core. We have CPU turbo mode, we have more games running more consistently, and we have save game support, which is going to make it a hell of a lot more fun to play the Atari Jaguar core moving forward, because some games like Alien vs Predator or Rayman take a long time to beat, and you don't want to have to do it in one sitting. But we're done, go play some Atari Jaguar, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!